They put the behemoths in the hold, along with the rhinos, the hippos and the elephants. It was a sensible decision to use them as ballast, but you can imagine the stench. And there was no one to muck out. The men were overburdened with the feeding rota, and their women, who beneath those leaping fire tongues of scent no doubt reeked as badly as we did, were far too delicate. So if any mucking out was to happen, we had to do it ourselves. Every few months they would winch back the thick hatch on the after deck and let the cleaner birds in. Well, first they had to let the smell out, and there weren't too many volunteers for winch work. Then 6 or 8 of the less fastidious birds would flutter cautiously around the hatch for a minute or so before diving in. I can't remember what they were all called. Indeed, one of those pairs no longer exists. But you know the sort I mean? You've seen hippos with their mouths open and bright little birds pecking away between their teeth like distraught dental hygienists. Picture that on a larger, messier scale. I am hardly squeamish, but even I used to shudder at the scene below decks, a row of squinting monsters being manicured in a sewer. There was strict discipline on the Ark. That's the first point to make. It wasn't like those nursery versions in painted wood which you might have played with as a child, all happy couples peering merrily over the rail from the comfort of their well-scrubbed stalls. Don't imagine some Mediterranean cruise on which we played languorous roulette and everyone dressed for dinner. On the Ark, only the penguins wore tailcoats. Remember, this was a long and dangerous voyage. Dangerous even though some of the rules had been fixed in advance. Remember too that we had the whole of the animal kingdom on board. Would you have put the cheetahs within springing distance of the antelope? A certain level of security was inevitable, and we accepted double peg locks, stall inspections, a nightly curfew. But regrettably there were also punishments and isolation cells. Someone at the very top became obsessed with information gathering, and certain of the travellers agreed to act as stool pigeons. I'm sorry to report that ratting to the authorities was at times widespread. It wasn't a nature reserve, that Ark of ours. At times it was more like a prison ship. Now, I realise that accounts differ. Your species has its much-repeated version, which still charms even the sceptics, while the animals have a compendium of sentimental myths. But they're not going to rock the boat, are they? Not when they've been treated as heroes, not when it's become a matter of pride that each and every one of them can proudly trace its family tree straight back to the Ark. They were chosen. They endured. They survived. It's normal for them to gloss over the awkward details, to have convenient lapses of memory. But I am not constrained in that way. I was never chosen. In fact, like several other species, I was specifically not chosen. I was a stowaway. I too survived. I escaped. Getting off was no easier than getting on. And I have flourished. I am a little set apart from the rest of animal society, which still has its nostalgic reunions. There is even a sea legs club for species that never once felt queasy. When I recall the voyage, I feel no sense of obligation. Gratitude puts no smear of Vaseline on the lens. My account you can trust.